Yeah.
Sean Payton just got a big fat new contract from the Broncos. I guess that's what happens when you go 14-3 and make the AFC Championship game. They probably win that game if Bo Nix is healthy.
Yeah.
Of course, he was not healthy. Got an injured ankle late in the game against Buffalo. But a big deal for Payton. He's now connected to the GM moving forward. And they're able to perhaps build something special in Denver. I know we're lukewarm on them this year because the schedule is just different.
I'm not lukewarm. I think this is one of the advantages. Jason, we talked about this yesterday in the Chicago Bears situation. You know, I think there's some fans that just think billionaires are all rich. No, a lot of them are leveraged. You know, Stan Kroenke built SoFi his own money. I mean, he didn't even ask the Chargers to help. Like, he built it and gave the Chargers a sweet lease. So that's why the Chargers now are so flush with cash. They have such a great lease with Stan Kroenke partnering at that stadium. And so the Broncos have the Walton family. Their net worth is 100 times that of the Bears ownership. So what do? Lock in Sean Payton. They take that anxiety out. He's going to finish his career here. He probably retires at the end of it. They clean it up. They keep the general manager who works well with Sean Payton, who I think is pretty smart. And again, everybody thinks these guys are all the same. They're not. If the Bears had the Waltons owning it, they wouldn't be talking to Indiana. They would just build in Arlington Heights. And so that whole thing with the Bears, it's just hovering over the franchise. So this is now the first or second richest ownership group, and this allows them to sign guys, free agent money, and Payton is locked in for the next half decade, and it's the right move to make.
Okay. Colin has really been zeroing in on money and ownership and all that lately. I'm going to keep it football focused and keep it about Sean Payton right now. And I find it interesting how J-Mac is only lukewarm on the Denver Broncos now because of their schedule. The schedule. Alright, let's dive into this. But before we do, Denver Broncos fans, please don't forget to subscribe and watch the full length of the video. When you do that, views go through the roof, subscribers go through the roof. It's not about chasing views or chasing subscribers. It's about being able to create Broncos content that people genuinely want to watch and discuss. So we can keep having the most unbiased, grounded, honest conversations about Denver. It really makes a huge difference to watch the full video, and I would really appreciate it. So, okay. This is great because obviously Sean Payton isn't going anywhere. Sean Payton, even though he's given up play calling and all that, even if you think he's lost his fastball, he is so crucial to this franchise. He's the one pulling all the strings. He's the one directing all the football-related moves. You're not going to do some of the things you did, even just looking at the full calendar year. In terms of getting someone like Greenlaw and now trading for Jalen Waddle, Sean Payton is all over all of that. Moving on from Russell Wilson, of course, getting Bo Nix, all that stuff. And anytime you have problems throughout this run, just being able to have Sean Payton there is the ultimate problem solver and troubleshooter. The reason I'm opening this way is because I do know the Broncos fan base is, speaking of being lukewarm, a little lukewarm on Sean Payton. I think the fan base is a bit divided. They're split on Bo Nix and Sean Payton, to be honest. Some people really like Bo but have issues with Sean. Some people really like Sean but have issues with Bo. It's actually a pretty fascinating dynamic. And again, this is the benefit of reading comments. I'm a believer in both, and I've seen the pushback on both. I've talked about how Sean Payton even admitted some of his issues with play calling, not being able to be as fast as he once was. And that's why now they have a formal offensive coordinator who will have more control than typical coordinators would when the head coach is an offensive guy. So I'm really intrigued to see what that looks like. But it's still such an ultimate safety net to have Sean Payton there, especially from a game management perspective, game preparation, and all of that. So I think Sean Payton, in a lot of ways, if you want to talk about some of these walk-around coaches, is so perfectly suited for that because he's an absolutely brilliant mind. He's the type of person I can feel completely comfortable with having a lot of power in the actual construction of the team, the drafting process itself. Who to hire, who to let go, managing all of that, recognizing, you know what? I'm good on offense. We have enough. Let's attack defense this free agency, this offseason. Whereas some other coaches, you don't really know that. Take Harbaugh, for instance, with the Chargers, since Colin brought up the Chargers. He's a brilliant football mind in his own right, but if you really need to build an offense, if you really need a play caller, Sean Payton is going to be your guy way more than Harbaugh. He just is. Harbaugh is definitely, and again, that's why they went out and got Mike McDaniel. That's a real move. Now, can the Broncos elevate from an offensive coordinating standpoint as well? For sure. And again, I love Harbaugh, I think he's brilliant too, but I do think there's a somewhat different level and layer to all of that. But in a lot of ways, there are plenty of similarities, because they both understand how to build a culture, how to pull the strings and direct the team in the direction they need to go from a construction standpoint. Being able to build the roster, build the culture, build what you need at any given moment. So I love a move like this, because again, you're not moving on from Sean Payton anytime soon. This franchise was really lost. Sean Payton got there and immediately was able to right the ship. Immediately. And you saw his confidence and willingness just from the move of saying, we're moving on from Russell Wilson. I don't know if there was really any team that would have done that. I really don't. Especially depending on who the ACH is, that was a move that blew everyone away. And then again, even going out and getting Bo Nix, make no mistake, that might have been one of the least popular draft picks over the last 2 or 3 years. Nobody was celebrating it. I was, but not a lot of people were. They were all saying this is a team that's desperate. I remember Nick set up the whole narrative going into that season because they were going to play the Steelers, and he said this is such a messy situation. Sean Payton thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. He kicked Russ out for Bo Nix. He's desperate now. If he loses this game against Russ, it's going to be awful because that quarterback is winning and your quarterback is losing. It was this whole mapped out scenario. Has there been a move that has aged any better when you really think about it? Because what were the options for the Broncos anyway? You either keep Russ, or if you move on, what were they going to be able to do? What situation were they going to find? Drafting Bo Nix always made sense. There wasn't some other magical quarterback they were going to get in that situation. They've had a ton of success. 1, they had the number 1 seed in the AFC. Definitely would have. Don't say probably. They definitely would have. The only way they don't get to the Super Bowl is if Bo Nix is somehow worse than the backup quarterback. Like what? Somehow he's worse than that. He just can't function. He becomes an absolute disaster in that moment. There's no reason to believe that. None. 0. So they definitely would have gotten to the Super Bowl and maybe even won it, something I've said a million times now. So it's just, you've got to sometimes have strong takes. I'm the king of saying we don't always need strong takes, but I find it funny where people draw a line. Sometimes they say, this team's never winning the Super Bowl ever. This quarterback's done. He'll never play another snap. And then something so clear and obvious like the Broncos clearly would have gotten to the Super Bowl, we say probably would have won. There's no probably. Definitely. Say it with your chest out. But yeah, from a football sense, this is all pretty par for the course. That's why Colin was going on about ownership and how they have all this money and this and that. To me, this is just basic management 101. I don't care who the owner is. Just smart, lock it up. You're good to go. Keep on keeping on. You're not moving on from Sean Payton at this moment. He's so important even if he has 0 play-calling responsibilities. He is all over this team. He is all over the direction of where this team is going. And that's why I found it interesting. I know he got a lot of criticism last season. Him and Bo, depending on which side you were looking at, got criticized. I even criticized Sean Payton, especially for his management of the AFC Championship game and all that. All of that is fair. But at the same time, the direction of this team is majority Bika. Use of Sean Payton. You're even in that position for him to make a mistake because he was there in the first place. So I think it's great. And yeah, the schedule itself, I won't spend too much time on the schedule because we've talked about it so much, and there's really no point in this immediate take. But I don't know, man. I just don't know why we're lukewarm on them. I see a lot of wins there. Will there be some tough games in the beginning? For sure. Obviously divisional games are going to be tough moving forward in this division. The Raiders will be tough too eventually. So yeah, it'll be tough against the Chiefs and the Chargers and whatnot. Absolutely. And that's fun. That's great. That's how football works. So get over it. Anytime people really linger on that and say, oh, it's so tough, that's football. Get over it. It's the way it works. It's a great problem to have. And then the other games that are more interesting in terms of having to figure out the Jags, the Rams, the 49ers, because you have to really try to figure out who those teams are. Obviously week 3 against the Rams, everyone should be pretty healthy at that point. So you don't have to guess what that team will look like week 9, week 10, week 11, week 12. You're probably seeing the best version of them in week 3. Whereas if you're looking at a team like the Steelers in week 12, there's a great chance that team is really banged up and not the best version of themselves. Same thing if maybe the Bills or the Patriots by week 16 or 17. So even playing a team like the Rams that early will be a great early battle, a great early test for sure. Early in the season, a lot of times defenses have a head start. And the Rams should have a pretty elite defense as well. But the Broncos should have an elite defense too, so it'll be interesting to see how that balances out. And we know the first couple of years, Bo Nix has gotten off to a slower start at the beginning of the season. Can they break that trend? The first year you say, well, he's a rookie. Makes sense. The second year you say, well, I don't know. Maybe this is just a common theme for Sean Payton and Bo Nix. New play caller, new offense. Hopefully Bo Nix is able to get on the field and start to get in rhythm sooner rather than later with his recovery. Hopefully they can get off to a quicker, stronger start because you want to hit the ground running, especially going up against Kansas City. Just at the bare minimum, starting 1-0 and already getting a leg up on a division rival who's obviously going to be competing is really important. And by week 5, those divisional games hold so much extra weight because I do see this being a really, really competitive battle to the end. Tiebreakers could end up being huge in this situation. Huge, huge. So those early divisional games are probably the ones I lock into more because of the weight they potentially have. But the next layer would be the Seahawks and the Rams, just to see where you stand right now. Where are you? Those are considered the premier teams of the NFC, teams you would potentially have to face in the Super Bowl. It's like, where are we at right now? And since it's early enough in the season, you should be facing the healthiest version of them. So that'll be interesting as well. But yeah, I know. I think the lukewarm take to all of this is just Sean Payton 5-year contract makes total sense. Right, I hear you. Got it. There you go. Don't have to focus too much on how wealthy the owners are or anything like that. Just all par for the course to me. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Denver Broncos? Sean Payton's 5-year contract. Are you excited about it? How do you feel? Are you one of those people who like Sean Payton or don't like him? Because I'm telling you right now, I got a whole mixed bag in the comments all last year. That's for sure. So definitely let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. Whether you agree with me or disagree, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.